Hey people, I often get the comment, great channel, I can't believe you don't have more subs. And the reason being, I always mark my movies not for children. On my other old channel, it was automatic. So anybody who has children, none of my videos are going to come up in their recommendations ever. And Google, it automatically sets everybody as children until you go into the settings and let it know your birthday. And so people that would be interested in a story or a joke about my smutty hairy balls don't think that they would be interested in the Bible. And so that automatically cuts out about 99% of the world from my channel. Because everybody's been fed some King James crock of shit. Nobody wants to believe that the Bible talks about, for I will take the smutty balls from her mouth. Nobody wants to believe that that's written in there in Hosea 2:17. And this is a word that comes up 13 times spelled like this. And first the Lord served the balls. And then God served the balls. And then the sons of Israel played the harlot with the balls. And they made a covenant with the balls. And they kind of changed that to ball birth. Because they didn't want you to know that the sons of Israel played the harlot with the balls, with the hairy balls. And they made to them in all a covenant. This is a covenant every other time it comes up in the Bible. B-R-I-T, in writ, in the writing. And it says, and yea, and let there be like as remit. G down, G-D-O-W-N. A G is a foot, to put your foot down, to remit a G down, the foot down. Who sub, sub is under. How under UV of in his rule. Who under of is in rule, the one on the bottom who was Zuni, and played the harlot, and wise in, and the V reading, before a A, becoming a TE or a TH, the theory, and whose rule, who's in theory, the balls, whose will them in all in writ. And the L followed by the A reads the N. In written God, all of him. And I've been looking at this I am for a while now. They say it's plural, and I always thought it was IS, but if you double up a consonant, it automatically becomes a Y. I learned that from reading the Egyptian. And I do it with the Greek and the Hebrew, and it makes everything fit better. So I'm thinking if you want to double up a consonant, you follow it by the I, and that would read as an L. If you wanted a Y, you would put the double L, and it would be a LY. But if you follow it with a Y, it would double that consonant. And so this is possibly BOLL, and so the I am just doubles up the last consonant and turns the M into a S. The balls, BOLLS, the balls. So this is probably the NALEES. As in all in written, all EES, these, THEES, or and Lee, past, in the past, downwind, in Lees, in written, all ease, or a type of people, the Briton, the Britanollies. And that's where your covenant is, with the Britanollies. And that's the ones that spoke the ancient Hebrew, which is a Hebrew word for astrologer. So then, Israel made a covenant with the balls, and the Lord served the balls, and God served the balls, and sons of Israel the balls, and the Lord served the balls. And then it's in Kings, it becomes, what lick, WTLK, what lick a hairy balls. And then in Chronicles, it comes up as M's a bitch, what's the balls? As bitch, a bitch is the sacrifice. The bitch, it doesn't get cut off. From the bitch is the place of the sacrifice, the altar. And from the bitch, what the balls? is they're going to remove the balls. And Jeremiah talks about the hairy balls. And that's where they stick this after in here all the time. After. You can see after the balls. It says, your hairy balls. And then Hosea talks about it, in the time, a time, upon her days, a time of the balls he's talking about. And then it's the last time it comes up, Hosea 2:17. And I will remove the names of the balls. And so the names is the smut-y balls. And for I will take the smut-y balls from pie, from your pie hole. I know you heard that, P-I-E, the mouth. And so this is not take. I've never seen this word before. Take is always spelt with a QH as in fuck, and they took them wives like fuck. And this says it comes up 7 times, and it means to turn aside, to depart, to turn aside. It doesn't mean take. But this is more of a vesard, a vesard. And it's a position in the old kingship, the vassals. You have your vessel, is the one being filled, and the vesser is the one filling it. It has to do with positions of the feudalism. The lords, the vassals, and fiefs. And vassals are given a piece of property in order to return a service. It's where your word vegetable comes from, the entrance court, before you come into the house, into the court. And so the woman is the taker, You have the vessel is the one being filled, and the vesser is the one that's filling it, and vessered, and filled, and the IA reading is a U, and filled what? For I will take the vessered what smut the balls from pie. And no, the L before the A reading is the N. That's where they get that from. The Vav is the and the NA is, or the LA is no. And no is Zachar. A Zachar, they say that's remember often, but on the first page of the Bible, he made them male, is a Zachar, whacker. A Z is the 7, and it's your tool, it's your knife, it's what you're going to poke in her, and the Zachar. And no is Zachar vowed, VOWD, avowed in a Sami. The double M, I read that as a MY, and Sami is the Egyptian word for black, or dark black, in Sami. So it appears to say, insert it to the smutty balls, insert at the smutty balls from the pie. And no is Zachar, vowed in Sami. And this this is every time it says, and he knew his wife again, and ood. And that's your Greek word for thou shalt not. Ow, it hurts. OW is the base Greek word for thou shalt not. Because it hurts. When somebody says ow, it means stop. Ow, you're hurting me. And out in Semi. And so, this reads different ways. A words read backwards, and words after the tack read backwards and forwards. And if you read the A words backwards, and assert it as moot. Moot is the word for death, or don't talk about it, for I will take the names. And assert it as moot the balls. And so moot is also to get rid of, cut off the balls. And that's what they did to all the servants in the king's house, because they weren't too sure who was banging. The king had about 600 wives, He had 2 per day. And there's no way he could keep up. And sometimes the servants was banging the wives, so the king's blood was changing to the servants. So they decided they should cut all the balls off the servants. If you're going to work in the king's house, you had to have your balls removed, and would take the balls. And so when you read it with this mark here, and assert it at, and then the double T, this becomes an I-U-M, a yums, the yums is the days, and assert it at the days of moot to shut up the balls, to kill the balls from pie and no and backwards, WRKZ works. And no works. It doesn't work anymore. Works, he works his Zacher, and no more works his Zacher vowed in Sammy. So it looks like they cut off all the black balls. So this is a way of saying, you've been blackballed. You've been rejected. And so this pie, this is Phi. It's who your allegiance is to, from Phi. And who your Phi is who you're going to say. Who is your God? My Phi from Phi. From Phi who know. And so this happens all the time. You don't see it, but best chances are, it's in the vaccinations. They say that nobody's having kids anymore. Good chance you got vaccinated. And I assert it. The days, the yums, to shut up the balls from the pie. And no works a Zacher vowed in Semi. So this was common practice in all the kingdoms, the harem guards, they were all eunuchs. They all had to be castrated before they worked in the king's mansion. You can find this written in plain English all over. This is why Jacob took 4 wives and spit out as many kids as he could before he went to work in the mansion, because he had to have his nuts removed too. Nobody has kids after they work in the king's mansion. And the ancient Arabic story says that the Jacob is the one that created the white race, and that's probably how he did it. If you are Sammy is dark black. You can see that here in this book, The Power of the Bull. You'll find it on Google Books. You can find the free section in there. It's here, this H25, Sammy, a SAMI, Sammy. And that's, the picture would be like this, the bull with his head turned sideways, the black bull. He's fixing to charge. He's looking back at you. You better get out of my pen. He's the wild bull. Sam is the way he's reading this. He's missing that I at the end. It plainly says SAMI, Sammy. Out and no more, is a Zacher vowed. I vow not to do that again. And out in Semi by their name. So lately I've just been trying to read everything straight through to try to get some of the confusion out of this, But the Vesserti, backwards the A word, the Vesserti to the Smutty balls, from Phi, who you're loyal to, from Phi, HU, from Phi, who nay, a no vote, a nay, no Zacher, no dicks vowed in Semi, no black dicks. And so all the way through the Bible, it seems to confirm that, Jacob is the one who created the white race. And for I will take the names of the balls, you take your father's name, your last name, from Pi, from a spoken, and no Zacher vowed in Semi. And so none of this can be taken as history, because it's not. It's poetry talking about the heavens, And the black, that's the beginning of the day, when the sun goes down, then you can see the stars. And Hebrew means astrologer. That's what this is all about. It's all about Hebrew. It's all about what's happening in the heavens, not what's happening on earth. And all the stories are designed so you could remember where the stars are at what time. This is all about the times in the heavens. And they tried to mirror it, what's on earth. So it's not that accurate of times of what happened on earth, but they try to associate the heavens and the earth. So there's some truth here of what goes on earth, but the accurate writings have to do more with the heavens. So I was reading elsewhere when I got to looking into this balls, and I got a really good movie coming up. And I think I could even make it for kids, but this is where I was reading in the 2 Kings 11, when I ran into this and what met in within the cannibal. The priest of Baal is a cannibal. So I'm going to post this on both my channels, but if you're watching on this channel, Strictly Educational Magic with a K, you need to subscribe to my new channel, Strictly Educational Magic without the K, in order to catch all my videos. I'll put everything up here. Unless it's something I'm pretty sure that YouTube ain't going to like, I'll put it on just on the other channel. But I'll leave the link below and you can subscribe to this channel and catch all my stuff. I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.